Think about something you wanted badly. A job, a relationship, a purchase, an achievement. Something you were convinced would change how you felt about your life. Now think about how it actually felt when you got it. For most people, there's a gap. Not always a huge one, but a gap. A quiet sense of, is this it? I thought this would feel different. That gap has a name. And it turns out it's not a personal failure. It's one of the most documented and consistent findings in all of psychology. Psychologists call it affective forecasting. It means predicting your future emotional state, how you'll feel after something happens. And humans are remarkably bad at it. Not occasionally bad, not bad in complicated situations. Systematically, predictably, measurably bad. Across cultures, across age groups, across almost every life event researchers have studied. We overestimate how good things will feel. We overestimate how bad things will feel. And we overestimate how long either feeling will last. The main reason is something called impact bias. When you imagine a future event, getting the promotion, moving to the new city, ending the relationship, your brain zooms in on that one thing. It fills the frame. It feels enormous. What your brain doesn't do is picture everything else that will still be happening around it. The Tuesday morning meetings that will still be dull, the same small frustrations, the same body, the same habits, the same internal weather. So you predict that the event will hit harder than it does, because in your imagination it exists in a vacuum. In reality, it lands inside a full life that absorbs it. Psychologists have a specific name for this too: focalism. When we think about a future event, we focus on it almost exclusively and ignore everything else that will still be part of our lives when it arrives. Studies show that when people are explicitly reminded to think about everything else going on in their life when imagining a future event, their emotional predictions become dramatically more accurate. The event didn't change, the context did. And context is everything. Here's the part most people have never heard of, and it's the most important piece. You have a psychological immune system, not a metaphor, an actual documented system of cognitive processes that your brain uses to protect your emotional well-being, to rationalize, reframe, and adapt to almost anything that happens to you. And it works remarkably well, so well that you almost never notice it operating. When something bad happens, your brain quietly gets to work. It finds silver linings. It reframes the narrative. It adjusts what you value and what you compare yourself to. It does all of this automatically, below the level of conscious awareness. The problem is, you never factor this in when predicting how bad something will feel. There's a study that makes all of this impossible to argue with. Researchers compared two groups of people: lottery winners, people who had recently won large sums of money, and people who had become paraplegic following accidents. Both groups were asked to rate their current happiness and predict their future happiness. The results were striking. Within a year, both groups had returned to roughly their baseline happiness level before the event. The lottery winners were not dramatically happier. The accident survivors were not dramatically less happy. The psychological immune system had done its work on both ends. The reason we don't predict this is called immune neglect. We simply forget that we have this system. When imagining future pain, we don't account for the fact that we will adapt. When imagining future joy, we don't account for the fact that we will also adapt to that. And so we can keep chasing things, expecting them to land with permanent force, and they don't. And we keep dreading things, expecting them to devastate us permanently, and they don't either. The system that protects us is invisible to us when we need it most. This connects to something called the hedonic treadmill. The idea is simple. Humans have a happiness baseline, a set point we keep returning to regardless of what happens. Good things push us up temporarily. Bad things push us down temporarily. But we return, which means the things we spend enormous energy pursuing, the raise, the house, the relationship status, the number on the scale, produce a bump, not a permanent elevation. And then we adapt. And then we want the next thing. The treadmill keeps moving. We keep walking. The scenery changes, but the position stays roughly the same. So what does the research say actually correlates with sustained well-being, not just a temporary bump? Strong relationships. Not the number of them, the quality. Feeling genuinely known by at least one or two. People is one of the strongest predictors of sustained happiness found in the research. Meaning over pleasure. Activities that feel meaningful, even when they're difficult or uncomfortable, produce more lasting well-being than activities that feel pleasant in the moment. Presence, being fully in an experience rather than half there, produces richer memory and richer experience simultaneously. And perhaps most counterintuitively, giving. People consistently underestimate how good it feels to do something for someone else, and overestimate how good it feels to do something for themselves. This is not something that is bad. It's actually one of the most liberating findings in psychology once you sit with it. If the things you're chasing won't make you as happy as you think, then you are free to stop organizing your entire life around getting them. Not because ambition is wrong, but because the math you've been using is off. The return on those investments is lower than advertised, and the things that actually move the needle are mostly already available to you. The happiness you keep deferring to some future version of your life is not waiting at the finish line. It was never there. It's in the texture of how you spend ordinary time. You will keep wanting things. That's not a flaw, it's human. But the next time you catch yourself thinking, when this happens, I'll finally feel how I want to feel. Remember the lottery winners. Remember the psychological immune system quietly running in the background. Remember that your brain is not good at this specific prediction. And then ask what's already here that you're not fully in. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. We look at why doing nothing might be the most productive thing your brain ever does.